All right, everyone, welcome back to another forecast discussion from NWS here in Columbia, South Carolina. This is Matt talking. Just going to be discussing our severe weather potential that we have over the next couple days here in the Midlands and into the CSRA of Georgia. So the main topic here is going to be the severe weather that's possible on Monday afternoon, as we have a little cold front that comes through. We're expecting some strong to severe thunderstorms that will move through with this front, mainly focusing on wind and large hail potential. Tornado potential is still there, but it's the lower of the three risks from this event. And generally, it's going to be Monday afternoon into the evening, mainly focusing kind of on the Midlands and into North Carolina for where the strongest potential is, a little bit less down in the CSRA. So we're going to kind of walk through why we're thinking this severe weather risk and some of the uncertainty and where we expect kind of the forecast to develop in the next 24 hours. So let's close that here. Let's start with the Severe Weather Prediction Center, the SPC. Start with their website here. You can see currently we have a large enhanced risk out for kind of the Tennessee and Mississippi Valley areas as we have this little cluster of thunderstorms. We'll talk a little bit more about that. This is from an upper level low that's developing kind of across the northern tier of the country and is allowing moisture to pool northward and also apply some lift from where that low is. And we're expecting kind of a large area of enhanced risk for severe weather this afternoon. If we turn over to day 2, which is what we're going to be talking about here, which is Monday, we see that, like the map I showed on that first slide, we have a slight risk that extends down from the mid-Atlantic down into South Carolina. Stays out of Georgia right now, but then the marginal risk extends all the way down into the panhandle of Florida. We have an enhanced risk that's up over Virginia and into North Carolina. We take a look at the different type of hazards that are expected here. We have a tornado risk, just a 2% risk up there. Take a look at hail, or wind first, sorry. We take a look at wind first. We have a 15% across our area, and then a 30% chance where that enhanced risk was back in Virginia and North Carolina. And then if we take a look at hail, it's another 15% risk across our area. But then there's also that hatched area you see, again, across kind of just lee of the Appalachians and the Blue Ridge in Virginia and North Carolina. And this hatched area indicates potential for very large hail. So it doesn't quite reach our area, but it's not far off. But overall, low tornado risk, decent wind risk, decent hail risk, with also the chance for some large hail in there greater than 2 inches, so which is SIG hail in this case. So let's take a look at the actual forecast here. This is current satellite loop across our area, across the entire U.S. We have that upper level low you see up over Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. It's kind of spinning there. See that little convective complex that's coming out of Kentucky into Tennessee here. That will be heading our way, and we will discuss that because that is a element of uncertainty into the forecast here. But overall, it's this upper low that we see spinning away kind of in the northern tier of the country that's going to be driving most of the severe weather risk for us the next couple days. Take a look at the radar. See our kind of weak popcorn showers popping up where that upper low is. Then we see that convective complex moving down from Kentucky into Tennessee right now. Again, this is currently about 1 o'clock Eastern time when I'm recording this. So when you see this, this probably is going to change. But the convective complex is moving into Tennessee now. May skirt down into our area later this evening. It's a little bit uncertain. Models did not do well with it. Still has to go over the mountains, which usually kind of destroy these types of weaker systems. But we'll talk a little bit more because some of the model guidance does bring it down here. Just go back to the SPC page real quick. Take a look at their mesoscale discussions, and they have one out for currently. It stays out of South Carolina, but they have a 40% chance of a watch going up as of about 1 o'clock for this convective system moving through for a severe thunderstorm watch. So, all right, so let's take a look at kind of what the upper pattern looks like if we go over to some model data here. Just pull up the GFS. And we'll just do the US. So this is the 12Z run of the GFS. Not all the data's in, but everything should be in for what we need to look at for the next couple days. Take a look at 250 to start with, which is just basically the jet stream level. And we can see we have this strong jet kind of overrunning the top of a strong ridge axis that's over kind of western Texas and into New Mexico. This jet is what's driving that upper low up here because If you know anything about jet streaks, you want to be in the left exit region of these for where you'll have your best lift, generally in the right exit region, and in the left entrance region is where you're going to see the weaker lift associated with the jet. But yeah, this is right in the left exit, so right where you expect the low pressure to develop. And that's going to continue to move kind of slowly but steadily to the east over the next couple days. This is 8 a.m. on Monday. That jet's kind of aiming right for us. We kind of are sitting right at broadly the exit region of it, but we're kind of sitting in our area right at the end, not really in either the right or the end, right or the left exit region. So, and then as we get into, this is 2 p.m. and then this is 8 p.m. tomorrow. We kind of sit in the same area. So, just from a jet perspective, this is why the risk is a bit higher to our north, is because they're sitting right in that kind of favorable area of both wind shear and lift across the mid-Atlantic, and it's a little bit less favorable down our way and decreasing, as you get down into the CSRA. So it's kind of the main factor for why we see that decreasing risk for the mid-Atlantic and down into our area. Take a look at 500 millibars. You're going to see kind of the same story. Kind of have our weak jet that's on the southern part of that low heading down towards our area. It's driving basically a cold front. It's not really that cold, but a weak boundary into our area. We don't really get cold fronts in June around here because the temperature will drop from 92 one day to 90 the next day. It's not exactly cold, but this is again 8 a.m. Monday morning. As we head into the evening, we see those increasing wind fields across our area, so we'd have some increasing wind shear and potentially lift associated with this upper low at 500 millibars moving into our area. And let's see if we look at, dew point temp. You might be able to see the decent little boundary that they're talking about here. It's usually easier to see it in the moisture fields than it is in the temperature fields because we have such diurnal changes in temperature, especially in the summer with a high sun angle. You warm up a lot. Even if a front comes through, it's not going to impact how much heating you get from the sun. So we can see it in the moisture gradient here kind of right now. This is 11 a.m. on Monday. And then by the time you get to 8 p.m. on Monday, we see that moisture gradient kind of pushing across our area and our dew points dropping down into like the low 60s or upper 50s by Tuesday morning. So it's more of a moisture gradient and a boundary associated with the moisture than it is necessarily with the temperature itself. But that's basically what's the cause of the forcing here for some severe weather potential. So let's go and look at some of the high resolution guidance. We'll take a look at, we'll look at the southeast. Well, maybe the mid-Atlantic might be better. Okay, yeah, this will work. So we'll go to precip, take a look at the simulated reflectivity. This is the HRRR. This is the 12Z run, so from Sunday morning. And you can see the HRRR had that area convective complex that moved down from Kentucky into Tennessee. It's actually doing quite a nice job as of 18Z or 2 p.m. here. The HRRR actually brings that over the mountains and keeps it somewhat organized into our area by this evening. But by later this evening, you start to lose diurnal heating and instability associated with that. So you actually just basically lose big source of your lift for this, and especially as it's coming over the mountains. So not expecting a whole lot with this. Definitely can get some showers, a couple thunderstorms. Not expecting a big severe potential. Thanks to the Appalachians right there kind of shielding us from that. Take a look at the HRRR, and then by Monday morning, it brings through this kind of initial wave, a prefrontal trough type thing, through with some showers and maybe a few thunderstorms mixed in there. And then we have this lull in the activity as that front approaches, and we start to see more convective development lee of the Appalachians. And then by about 6 p.m. or so, we start to see more development across our area, and then it stays quite active through late in the evening. Now, this is just one model run, so it's easily could be wrong here, but it's important to note we have a few different pieces of uncertainty that's kind of playing out with this. We have the system moving through tonight, which then could impact this first wave that moves through Monday morning. And that obviously will then impact what's going to move through Monday night. So we have kind of 3 consecutive systems here that could all impact each other, either favorably for severe weather or negatively for severe weather. So it's just one model run here. Let's take a look at what the NAM has. So the NAM has that convective complex here Sunday afternoon, kind of moving into our area, but it kind of dissipates like the HRRR was showing as it moves through. So just a couple showers and maybe a rumble or two, a thunder type idea. And we look Monday morning, it does have that kind of disjointed look of some scattered showers and thunderstorms moving through. And then by 0Z, so this is 8 p.m. Monday night, we start to see some more isolated convection develop across South Carolina. So it's quite a bit of a different solution than the HRRR had. Let's take a look at the high-res NAM here. So that first NAM is the 12 kilometer, and this is the 3 kilometer. So again, convective complex moving into Tennessee, weakening as it moves over the Appalachians late this evening. Then we have some scattered stuff around tomorrow morning. That lull for most of the day on Monday, and then as that front moves through late, after, in the case for the NAM here, it doesn't really have convection getting into our area. Ooh, that's almost midnight. Monday into Tuesday. So definitely a less robust solution for severe weather than what we saw from the HRRR. In this case, very strong again over the mid-Atlantic, where we're a bit more certain, where we were talking about that jet location relative to the front and the available instability. So yeah, let's actually take a look. We might be able to see some differences here, kind of what the HRRR has and why it's more aggressive. So I'll pull a sounding. Oh, can't pull a sounding from that. We'll pull a sounding from the RAP. So let's see. We'll pull a sounding here. So this is 6Z when the RAP actually brings stuff through, which is a little bit later than the rest of the models that we were seeing. But you can see from the RAP here, we have quite a bit of instability available with, basically 3,100 mixed layer CAPE, quite a bit. Shear isn't off the charts, but it's decent for severe weather, 40 plus knots of 0 to 8 kilometer shear. The effective shear is 35. So decent shear, some analogs for other supercells and large hail events. Overall, this is a kind of a unidirectional shear, kind of from the west-northwest is where the shear is directed. And with this much instability, this definitely is more of a wind/hail event than definitely a tornado event. Just not a ton of low-level shear, not a lot of turning in the profile in general, so more of wind or hail event. So we'll take a look at maybe could pull a sounding from the NAM. Again, the NAM was a bit later than the HRRR was, and that could explain why the HRRR was more aggressive, as it's coming earlier in the day, be more daytime heating available for it, more CAPE, things like that. So again, here it's basically the same idea as the RAP had, about 3,100 mixed layer CAPE. Shear a little bit weaker here, but not much, about 40 knots, 0 to 8 kilometers, and about 35 from the effective layer. So again, some decent analogs in terms of supercells and other hail events. Overall, we have a little bit of dry air kind of at mid-levels, lots of thick, juicy CAPE, unidirectional shear. All could favor hail or wind, depending on the convective mode we get. We'll go take a look at the SPC HREF page. This combines all the high-resolution models together. And let's see. So this is the 500 millibar map here. So you can see by tomorrow afternoon, we start to see that enhanced area of winds move into our CWA, increasing our shear as we start to get 40, 45 knot wind speeds at 500 millibars. Go over and take a look at the surface-based CAPE. So this is the probability from the ensemble that we will exceed 500 joules per kilogram. So by tomorrow afternoon, it's 100%, pretty much across the area. So all the guidance has more than 500 joules per kilogram. Take a look at 1,000 joules per kilogram. So this is where you're starting to get into that moderate to high CAPE around here. And again, pretty consistent. This is, see down here, 90+% across the area tomorrow afternoon, 2,000 joules per kilogram now, and we see it's a little bit less certain about that. So still decent probabilities. That's still pretty high. You're talking 50+% chance to see 2,000 plus joules per kilogram tomorrow afternoon. So let's see if we look at kind of the precip fields here. This is going to be kind of the 1 hour rainfall amounts, and we see tonight this stuff moves through. fairly weak, maybe a couple showers around, limited confidence in that. But by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, and this is 6 p.m. here, we start to see more activity developing in North Carolina, and then developing later. This is 8 p.m. right here, and the HREF is definitely favoring a later kind of event. So looks like the HER is a bit of an outlier here. We can take a look at the individual model runs themselves here. Try to zoom out so we can see all this. This is each individual component of the HREF, just showing its reflectivity at the same time. So take a look at 0Z tomorrow night. So this is 8 p.m. We see the HER has convection right over South Carolina. The previous run of the NAM had stuff over South Carolina, but the most recent run does not. And then you take a look at the NSSL models and the ARW and the FV3, and none of them really have convection developing across the Midlands of South Carolina. They mostly keep it into North Carolina at 0Z. All of them do develop, and like we saw in the threshold probes in the previous image I was showing, is stuff developing a bit later, where the HER continues that convection, starts at about 0Z, continues it through about 6Z. A lot of the other guidance is just 3 or 4 hours later than that, which the later in the day it occurs is better for us. It means we're less likely to have severe weather just because we'll lose that daytime heating. But a solution like the HER is a bit concerning, where we're starting to see stuff pop, just a couple hours after our max heating, when we really would have some juicy instability. So let's see. Just take a look at the mean CAPE, and we'll take a look at those times that we saw there. So this is 8 p.m. Our mean CAPE's about just over 2,000 across kind of the Midlands, dropping off as you get to the coastal plain. And as we get later in this period, when a lot of the high-res stuff is showing convection developing, we see a decreasing trend in our average CAPE across the area. So you see a kind of peak in the afternoon, around 6 o'clock or so, 5 to 6 o'clock, and then it slowly drops off hour by hour after that. So this is why that later solution, as that front is a little bit slower to move through, would be better in terms of our severe weather potential. So it's a bit about the uncertainty that we're talking about. The high-res guidance is not in good agreement. The global models are in pretty good agreement for basically, we have this front coming, we have a strong shortwave aloft moving through, good jet streak associated with that. Saw those profiles. They definitely don't favor tornadoes necessarily. Can't rule them out, but it's mainly a hail or wind event. And again, the best lift and best instability and everything was to our north a little bit. So the strongest convection we're expecting tomorrow is back across Virginia and North Carolina. But as we saw with some of those high-res solutions, it's possible to reach down into Columbia, where we have a pretty favorable environment overall. And in general, from a climatological standpoint, when you get decent fronts like this in June, that's usually a bit of a concern. We don't generally see this strong of a low pressure system make it this far south, in basically almost July at this point. So it's pretty rare. We always have instability this time of year. We don't usually have a front. So definitely keep your eyes peeled and stay weather aware tomorrow. And again, if you have any questions or anything, you can leave comments on this video. Give us a call at the office. We'll sure to have updates, probably get one of these out tomorrow morning as we see things develop, because it does look like this event's going to be a bit later on Monday, that we'll have kind of most of the day to get the forecast nailed down and to prepare for this. So have a good one, everyone.